What is up, guys? It's J-Rock, the Warlock, here to give you guys just a quick guide on what I think is the best raid composition for TBC Classic, and if you're playing on Endless this weekend as well, this might apply to you as well. So this is obviously all up for interpretation. You can move things around a little bit here and there. This is basically for T4, and then you can move this on into T5 and T6 in later phases, but there's going to be a little bit of movement. But this is basically just a T4 start. This is kind of what you want to see your guild go towards, I believe. So starting with group 1, we have our Protection Warrior. Our Protection Warrior, it's kind of a no-brainer. I don't need to explain to you guys. They still have great mitigation. They still generate a lot of great single target threat. So they're going to be the go-to tank for Gruul's Lair, Mags, a lot of the bosses in Karazhan. They're just really, really good in T4. And Frail Druids get a lot better later on, but right now they're kind of a little weak, so we just bring primarily our Prot Warrior as our main tank. Anyways, moving on to Arms. The reason why you bring your Arms Warrior is because he's going to keep up Battle Shout, Demoralizing Shout, and improve Thunderclap. Instead of the warrior, instead of the tank doing that, the Arms Warrior can do that, and then he's also just going to bring the 4% physical damage debuff to the table as well. Blood Frenzy. So it is super, super strong. You have to bring that Arms Warrior, and then they scale actually pretty well later on in the expansion as well. So anyways, moving on, we have an Enhancement Shaman in this group because this is our one melee group that we're running. We don't have a Rogue in the melee group because Rogue doesn't bring anything to the table in T4, like literally nothing. Everything else in here has at least one ability in their talent tree that does something. Rogues have nothing. They have Expose Armor, but Expose Armor negates Sunder Armor, which makes it harder for the Prot Warrior tank to generate threat. So that's not good. So that's just a quick recap on why we're not bringing the Rogue. Obviously, you can bring the Rogue. I'm going to kind of go into that in a second when we get to the two mages right there in group 4. But you can swap things around. If you have a really dedicated Rogue and you want to give someone glaives and you want to get them more prepared in T4 through raiding instead of PvP, you can swap a few things around here and there, especially if you're only semi-hardcore or casual. This is all just up for interpretation. But this is going to cover all the bells and whistles primarily. So anyways, moving on from enhancement down to survival. Survival, the reason why we bring survival is for expose weakness. Expose weakness is going to help the tank generate threat primarily. But yeah, a lot of people argue that bringing another BM Hunter might be more worth because it'll just be more damage. But this is just one of those things I like to bring as well, just to have even more debuffs on the boss. I just love stacking all those debuffs and seeing the boss just take more and more damage. It's just great. And then in our last spot in group 1, we have our Retribution Paladin. He is going to be bringing Improved Seal of Crusader, which gives your whole raid a 3%, I believe, crit chance. Yep, increased crit chance of all attacks by 3%. And then he also brings an improved Blessing of Might for the melee that are struggling right now. So it's just a no-brainer. And also, Ret Paladins are going to be refreshing the seals so that your healers don't have to, and if your Protection Paladin tank might not be on the boss to refresh the seals, maybe he's healing, then you can have a Ret Paladin just refreshing the buffs, and it's very useful. You have to have one Ret Paladin. It's going to be a very sought-after position. We'll get into that later. So group 2, we've got our Feral Druid. They are going to be off tanking. They're also going to be, when they're not off tanking, they're going to be power shifting with their old helm from Classic. I'm not entirely sure how they do it, but it seems very complex, I've heard. So you're going to want to be a big pumper if you pick that position. They also just bring another Innervate to the table, which is really nice. And then finishing off group 2, we've got our BM Hunters. I don't really need to explain that to you guys other than the BM debuff. I might as well tell you guys about that real quick. It's Ferocious Inspiration. Basically, it is when your pet crits, increases, all party members have all damage increased by I think it's 3% for 10 seconds. So when you have the 3 BM hunters in there, that thing's just rolling. So that's super strong. Okay, then you have a restoration shaman in that group as well to run Mana Tide Totem. That's kind of why I put this down here for the Resto Ellie Shaman, the Mana Tide Totem. So it just keeps your BM hunters going. They're not going to run out of mana. They don't have to go into Aspect of the Viper. So yeah, you pop your second restoration shaman in there, and Bob's your uncle. Moving on to group 3, we have our 3 destruction warlocks. I don't really need to tell you guys about why we're bringing 3 destruction warlocks. We all know they're OP, just like the BM hunters. So we're stacking 3 of those in this group, and then we bring an elemental shaman for his totem of wrath. Totem of wrath, I believe, increases hit and crit by 3% for all of your party members. Let's see here. Yes, 3% crit hit. Chance to hit and critical hit. Yep, super strong. That's insane. Yeah, I play Alliance, so I'm not used to having all this horde stuff, even though this is a TBC thing. But yeah, not used to having the totems since playing Classic for so long as Alliance. So anyways, so that's why you put the elemental with the destruction warlocks, and then you bring a balanced druid as well, so that you get the effects from the Moonkin aura and the what is it called again? Oh geez, it's the insect swarm. Insect swarm. It gives the boss a debuff that makes him not able to hit 2%. So that's super strong, super OP. They're also there to help decurse. There's an extra innervate, so that's super helpful. Balance druids are super hard to play very effectively, but if you can figure it out, they do about middle of the table DPS, which is fair. It's worth it to have them in the Destruction Warlock group, so it's a great position. It's going to be pretty sought after position, I think, even though they're not that great in PvP. It's just a fun class, and I think the aesthetic is fun for certain people that like it, being the owl and moon firing and star firing and all that good stuff. So anyways, moving on to group 4, we got our arcane mages. So you can just bring one if you'd like. You absolutely need to bring one for the spell steals for certain fights like High King in Gruul's Lair. So you absolutely need to have one, and I mean, who else? I mean, who doesn't want to have int buff and a table and a port out when you're done raiding? You know, it's kind of a no-brainer. You have to at least bring one mage, and mages actually do fairly well, and then I think they scale really well as well into later content. Actually, I think it might be the opposite. I can't quite remember. I actually haven't played much mage. But anyways, this is, I think, one of the spots where I'd feel comfortable maybe bringing in a rogue or something. I think we would obviously switch around the groups a little bit, but we just need that one mage for what the utility mages bring. Anyways, moving on. We'll go to the elemental shaman in the group. Obviously, he's going to be using Totem of Wrath for our mages and our shadow priest and our affliction warlock that we're going to talk about. So anyways, yes, down to the Affliction Warlock. Affliction Warlock's completely necessary because of COE. COE is going to cover all of the elements basically in TBC, because it's introduced in patch 2.4.1, I believe. Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong, but I believe it's going to cover every single, you know, shadow, frost, fire, arcane. It's going to cover everything. And then malediction just increases it by 3%. So it's super strong. You absolutely need to have an affliction warlock in your raid, probably all the way through to T6. And then also Shadow Embrace is going to help reduce some physical damage that the boss deals by 5%. So that's also going to help mitigate some damage. Okay, so moving on to the fifth spot of Group 4, we have our Shadow Priest. Shadow Priest is absolutely necessary. It brings a 5% raid-wide spell damage and 10% shadow damage debuff, which is completely necessary for the Warlocks. You absolutely have to have that. And then also, I'm sure you guys have heard this plenty of times, they're a mana battery. 5% of the damage that they deal is converted to mana in their group. So right now I have it in Group 4 for those casters and to help the mages out. But you can, if they let us do group swapping, we're not too sure about that yet. If they let us do group swapping, you can swap that into the healer group really quick and help them get some mana back. So it's very necessary. Group 5 is just basically my healing group. I've got the Protection Paladin in there as well because he can benefit from the Priest's AoE heals and the Holy Paladin's extra aura. Also, the Restoration Shaman can help him with Mana Tide Totem because prot pallies do have mana issues. So yeah, basically that's as fast as I can get it into one video. That's the rundown. Yeah, I just started this channel. I've been raiding in Classic since launch. I was in the server first Dungeon Cleave group on Blammo, and I've just been raiding every week since, just kind of doing what I can on my server and getting geared and getting ready for TBC. So I just started this channel because I've got more time now, and if you guys like the content, let me know. I'll make some more. I'll make some more in-depth guides and maybe kind of explain myself a little bit more as to what you want to be in TBC, if you want to PvP more, if you want to PvE more, what classes and what specs, are going to be, I can do tier lists if you want, even with S, A, Bs, all kinds of things. So yeah, just let me know if you like it. Hit it with a like. If you disliked it, hit it with a dislike. Let me know why in the comments. This is my first ever video. I don't know if you can tell. It's a little basic, but it's all I got. And yeah, there's gonna be more to come. I'm streaming all the time. I'm streaming at Twitch TV at JRock the Warlock. So come give me a follow, like me on Facebook or whatever. And yeah, I'll see you guys around in the future. Thank you so much. Peace.